So, to celebrate today's launch of Google Stadia, I want to make a video talking about what happens if Google Stadia fails and if the entire service shuts down. What better way to celebrate Stadia's launch? I didn't get Stadia because my internet is not even close to being good enough to actually run it. And even if it was, their whole model, their whole model makes no sense. Of you paying full price for these games, $60, but you're streaming it instead of downloading it or buying a disc. I don't understand who this appeals to, what market Google is trying to appeal to. I guess people who just do not care about actual game ownership, people who have incredibly fast internet because you're going to need great internet in order to run the game at a competitive frame rate to the modern consoles and to PCs. I'm not sure what market Google is trying to appeal to here, especially with their pricing model. So you can make the case like with games like PlayStation Now, for example, the way that service is set up, you pay $10 a month and you have access to so many different games, and you have access to those games. But the way Stadia works is that you can get like the pro subscription, you can get like access to a certain number of games, but mostly the games that you want to buy, like the new games that are coming out, Doom and all these other games that are on the Stadia platform, you need to buy them separately. So I'm trying to figure out who this appeals to. It doesn't make much sense. Anyway, doesn't matter. Stadia is a thing. Some people are gonna use it for whatever reason, and if you're one of those people, let me know how this appeals to you, because I'm still trying to figure that out. But I do have an idea of what's actually going to happen if the service does in fact shut down, whether it be a year from now, 2 years from now. I feel like it would be much longer than that, because I don't think Google would be willing to just give up on something that they've invested so much money into. This would be probably like 5 years down the line at the minimum, probably, whether it does good or bad. It doesn't matter how bad it does. I still think this is going to be something that's going to happen way down the pipeline. I mean, how long did Google try to get this Google Plus thing, try to make Google Plus a thing to compete with Facebook? For years. For years, they tried to make Google Plus the next Facebook, and nobody gave a shit about it. Even after they forced you to sign up for Google Plus, to actually be able to leave comments on YouTube, and it was all integrated with each other, and Google Plus was like this thing that nobody used. So it officially shut down a few months ago. But the point is that Google can be pretty stubborn. Like, it takes them a lot before they decide to just completely give up on something. So yeah, this is going to take a while. But when it does happen, this is going to be a pretty serious problem for a lot of people who have potentially put in hundreds, maybe even thousands, depending on how long the timetable would be here, of dollars into their games that they bought and that they paid to be able to play. The same price as someone who downloads the game from Steam or Xbox or whatever, and the same price as people who buy a new disc. Now, obviously, if you're just looking at it like objectively, a physical disc would definitely be the best value out of all the different mediums. Most obviously, if you're a console gamer, because physical media and PC is non-existent, but the disc has that resale value. But with the download and the disc, especially, you have that ownership attached to it. So if the service shuts down, and this has happened a lot, where you've had a lot of games taken off of the PlayStation Store, the Xbox Store, the PC Store, the Steam, whatever, that you cannot buy on any digital storefront, whether it be some type of the trademark or the rights expired, and for whatever reason it's not up on the store anymore. I mean, stuff like this happens a lot. I mean, time, that's what time does. Over time, things kind of erode, and rights to certain things kind of go away, they expire. I mean, that's just how the corporate world works. That's just how things naturally happen. So in the case of Stadia, another interesting thing, what about all the Stadia exclusives that you instantly have no access to, no matter what, because they're Stadia exclusives, they were made for Stadia. So if the Stadia platform ceases to exist and it's on the streaming service, then those games are definitely gone. But when I think of games like the AAA games, so let's say if they put like Grand Theft Auto 5 or Grand Theft Auto 6 on Google Stadia, Red Dead Redemption 2, and they're putting Doom, they're putting Assassin's Creed, or let's say the new Call of Duty. Whatever games that they're going to decide to put on Stadia in the long term, I assume would be a lot of AAA games, at least in the short term. And I know Google is throwing a lot of money at these publishers, but if Stadia ends up not taking off, then a lot of these publishers are gonna potentially end up not continue supporting the Stadia platform, which is similar to what we saw with OnLive, which was a similar streaming service, though it was 10 years ago, and you could argue that the situation has changed when it comes to streaming. It's more widely adopted than it's ever been. Internet connections are faster, and internet's more accessible than it was 10 years ago. Sure. But I still have a feeling that Stadia is going to have a really, really, really hard time getting a considerable chunk of the video game market. And not just Stadia, but like most of these other streaming services. I mean, I think Sony's got their nice little niche with PlayStation Now. I don't know what Microsoft's going to do with xCloud and how that's going to play out. But I'm skeptical about streaming, especially considering that there are so much higher stakes when you lose access to a video game than when you lose access to streaming a movie or a TV show or a song. Because those things are much easier to replicate. So if Netflix shut down, or not even if Netflix shut down, I mean, just think about it, right? How many of you watching this video right now have either your subscription expired to one of these streaming services, or a TV show that you like isn't available on any of the TV streaming services that you have, or whatever it may be? You decided to go on whatever website and pirate the episode. And speaking from my personal experience, that's what I did for, let's say, Game of Thrones had 8 seasons, right? I would say for about 7 out of the 8 Game of Thrones seasons, I just pirated all of it. I never bought an HBO subscription until the last season of Game of Thrones, where they offered a deal where you can get like a month for like, I got like $2 or something crazy. Like it was a deal that I just couldn't refuse. Unfortunately, that season of Game of Thrones was terrible and was one of the worst endings in television history. But anyway, point I'm saying is that you don't like, it's so much easier to preserve that kind of media. So when it comes to songs, when it comes to movies, when it comes to TV shows, it's so much easier to replicate, and it's so much more accessible than an entire video game, which is, it has all this complex programming in it, and the streaming platform, right? They have all the streaming servers of Stadia. They have like hundreds upon hundreds of powerful gaming PCs, probably thousands actually, however much it is, that are running the game, and then you're emulating that through your internet connection, right? So if that goes out, so does all the games that you're playing on there, because it can't really continue to exist. So in the case of Steam, if Steam just went out completely, you'd have a much better time of actually being able to get access to those games again, because it's still downloaded into your system. Or even if it's not downloaded into your system, at least that file exists somewhere and someone can try to extract it or something. But even then, it's very difficult. Like, if Steam shut down, that would be a really bad thing. But it's even worse for Stadia, because then what the hell do you do? Especially games that are exclusive on streaming platforms. Then what the hell else do you do? At least like what I envision with these AAA games, like with Bethesda games or Activision or whoever is supporting this platform in the future, Ubisoft, is that if the platform shuts down and enough people are affected by it, the burden's going to be placed on Ubisoft and all these other companies to kind of do something for the people who bought those games. So like, let's say, or at least like with Destiny 2, which is not even Activision anymore, is Bungie. If you let's say if you have all these hours logged into Destiny, and you have a Bungie account, whatever account you use for Destiny, whatever it may be. I don't even play that game, so I'm not sure exactly how it works. But I can envision a way that, since your progress is not saved on Google servers, but rather it's saved on Bungie servers, Bungie can potentially store your data, keep it saved, and then let you transfer it to a different platform, right? So I see it a lot better that way. But there are so many different games, especially single player games and other games, indie games, especially if they're exclusive to the Stadia platform. How are you going to continue accessing those games? Or how about all the progress that you made on those games? I can't imagine all of it's just going to stay there. Like, you're going to keep all of your progress and then just move on to something else. It's a lot easier said than done. Even the people who work at Google have said, like, they can't guarantee that you can keep your games if the service somehow shuts down. I mean, that, you can argue that's mostly for legal reasons. That they might have a system in place to keep your games if their service shuts down, but Google's not going to be that pessimistic in saying, oh, we're going to shut down. Like, in case we shut down, we're going to do this and that and that. If it shuts down, it shuts down. I kind of feel like Google's thinking that. Like, they're not too concerned about thinking about, like, what if Stadia shuts down. No, they're doing everything they can to make sure it succeeds. Although their current pricing model is going to be a hindrance to that. I don't know how they can obtain any, like, significant growth in the market with this system of monetize with $60, paying $60 for the games. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I just don't get it. So if it shuts down, are you going to keep your games? It's still up in the air, but I do feel like with the bigger games that are more prominent, that there's going to be a way for you to, like, cloud transfer your data over. Specifically with the online games, with single player games, you're probably shit out of luck and you're going to have to buy the game again. Or maybe the developers and the publishers of those original games are going to try to work with you and give you, like, a free copy of the game, or or whatever. But it's going to be difficult. It's going to be catastrophic, honestly, for anyone affected by it. Like, it's going to be a really big problem. So, and I don't mean to be pessimistic, but early on I could say that I'm not too confident about Google Stadia's long-term future. But, hey, I mean, this might be something that happens 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. There's no way of knowing, right? It's just, this is all speculation. That's the point of this whole thing, is to just speculate about what might happen. So, yeah, we'll see. But if you got Stadia, let me know what you guys think about the platform. If you think it's good, if you think it's better than any other gaming platform you've ever played before, if you just like the service, let me know, because I'm genuinely curious as to why you're into Stadia and why you're into these streaming platforms. Was it just out of curiosity, or was it just more of, like, a convenience factor? Like, in your situation, streaming is actually better for you? Let me know in the comments, because I'm very interested. Anyway, that's about it. That's pretty much all I gotta say. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.